Prime Minister Narendra Modi holds bilateral talks with US President Donald Trump, categorically rejects any scope for third-party mediation between India and Pakistan on Kashmir, says the two countries can discuss and resolve all issues bilaterally. Prime Minister Modi addresses G7 summit session on climate, biodiversity and oceans, highlights India's large-scale efforts towards eliminating single-use plastic, conserving water, harnessing solar energy and protecting flora and fauna for a sustainable future. Prime Minister Narendra Modi meets Senegal President Macky Sall on sidelines of G7 summit, discusses bilateral ties, development partnership and cooperation in counter-terrorism and international fora. Also meets British PM Boris Johnson and Secretary General of the United Nations Antonio Guterres. Union Home Minister Amit Shah reviews security situation in left-wing extremism affected states. Chief ministers, union ministers and secretaries, senior officers of various ministries besides officials from security agencies attend the meeting. Normalcy returning to Jammu and Kashmir. Administration says no shortage of medicines or essential commodities in the state. DD News team visits hospitals in Valley. Patients say they are happy with the facilities provided. And Reserve Bank of India decides to transfer 1.76 lakh crore rupees as dividend and surplus reserve to the government. RBI Central Board accepts recommendations of high-level panel headed by former RBI Governor Bimal Jalan on transfer of excess reserves to the government. Hello and welcome to this edition of the news. I'm Rukma and our top story. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has left for New Delhi from France after his three-nation tour. Prime Minister visited France, UAE and Bahrain. His visit comprised bilateral and multilateral engagements. His action-packed three-nation visit deepened India's relations with friends and projected India's voice on the global stage. Prime Minister held bilateral talks with several world leaders, including UN Chief Antonio Guterres, US President Donald Trump, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and Senegal President Macky Sall. Besides, PM Modi also participated and addressed in G7 summit in Biarritz in France. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi held bilateral meetings with US President Donald Trump. The Prime Minister categorically rejected any scope for third-party mediation between India and Pakistan, saying the two countries can discuss and resolve all issues bilaterally. The two leaders appeared together to speak to the media after talks on the sidelines of the G7 summit.
भारत और पाकिस्तान के सारे इश्यूज बायलैटरल है और इसलिए हम दुनिया के किसी भी देश को के लिए कष्ट नहीं देते हैं.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi mincing no words. All issues between India and Pakistan are bilateral.
मुझे विश्वास है कि भारत और पाकिस्तान जो 1947 के पहले एक ही थे, हम मिलजुल करके हमारी समस्याओं पर चर्चा भी कर सकते हैं और समाधान भी कर सकते हैं.
On his part, President Trump acknowledged the stance that India and Pakistan can resolve the Kashmir issue through dialogue.
Well, we spoke last night about Kashmir, and the Prime Minister really feels he has it under control. I know they speak with Pakistan, and I'm sure that they will be able to do something that will be very good.
Without naming Kashmir, Prime Minister Modi set the record straight, adding that besides this issue, there are many outstanding challenges for India and Pakistan to work out, from poverty elimination to eradication of diseases as well as other challenges. The PM said that the avenues for both neighbors to work together for good are many.
भारत और पाकिस्तान के बीच कई बायलैटरल इश्यूज हैं और पाकिस्तान के प्रधानमंत्री के चुनाव के बाद जब मैंने उनको टेलीफोन किया था तब मैंने उनसे कहा है कि पाकिस्तान को भी गरीबी के खिलाफ लड़ना है, भारत को भी गरीबी के खिलाफ लड़ना है, पाकिस्तान को भी अशिक्षा के खिलाफ लड़ना है, भारत को भी अशिक्षा के खिलाफ लड़ना है, पाकिस्तान को भी बीमारी के खिलाफ लड़ना है, भारत को भी बीमारी के खिलाफ लड़ना है। हम दोनों देश मिलकर के गरीबी के खिलाफ लड़े, हमारी असुविधाओं के खिलाफ लड़े और हम मिलकर के दोनों देश की आवाम की भलाई के लिए काम करें। ये संदेश मैंने पाकिस्तान के प्रधानमंत्री जी को भी दिया है और राष्ट्रपति ट्रंप से भी हमेशा हमारे बायलैटरल संबंधों के संबंध में बात होती रहती है।
This was the first bilateral meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Trump after the part abrogation of Article 370. President Trump had once offered to mediate between India and Pakistan, but his administration has maintained that Kashmir is a bilateral issue. Donald Trump's latest statement comes 3 days after French President Macron expressed support for India on the issue and said that he'll talk to Prime Minister Imran Khan to get down to dialogue instead of seeking third-party intervention for a resolution. Pakistan tried to raise the issue at the UN Security Council, calling for a meeting several times earlier this month. But all that it came away with was a closed-door meeting which saw Britain, France, Russia and the US supporting bilateral dialogue between India and Pakistan. China was the only P5 member that sided with Pakistan. The question now in everyone's mind, will Pakistan read the writing on the wall as far as the Kashmir issue is concerned? With Arendra Pratap Singh and Sudhir Yadav in Biarritz, France, Bureau Report, DD India.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi held several key bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the G7 summit. PM Modi held meetings with US President Donald Trump, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres and Senegalese President Macky Sall. During the discussions, views were exchanged on a range of issues including trade and investment, combating terrorism and tackling climate change. Here's more.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi held several key bilateral meetings on the sidelines of the G7 summit at Biarritz. However, the most keenly watched was the meeting between Prime Minister Modi and US President Donald Trump. After the meeting, the US President tweeted, "Just wrapped up a great meeting with my friend, Prime Minister Narendra Modi of India at the G7 summit in Biarritz in France."
We've had a lot of achievements. We have an achievement with Prime Minister Modi because we're doing great trade. We're doing a lot of trade with India. That's an achievement.
Prime Minister Modi also reciprocated the sentiment in a tweet and said, "Excellent meeting with @POTUS, @real Donald Trump. We had useful discussions on bilateral matters. We agreed to address trade issues for mutual benefit soon. Looking forward to expand cooperation as large democracies for the benefit of our citizens and global peace and prosperity." Besides Jammu and Kashmir, the two leaders also held discussions on strengthening India-US strategic partnership with a focus on energy and trade.
Prime Minister spoke of the importance of energy imports from the United States. He referred to the fact that $4 billion worth of imports were already in the pipeline and that we expected to step it up. As you know, Prime Minister will be visiting the United States next month. And in that context, he is going to have a roundtable with the top CEOs of energy companies.
Prime Minister Modi had also held a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, on Sunday. This was the first meeting between the two leaders after Boris Johnson assumed charge as UK Prime Minister. During the discussions, PM Johnson hailed Prime Minister Modi's leadership on efforts to tackle climate change. Prime Minister Narendra Modi informed Boris Johnson about the efforts taken by India against single-use plastic on the occasion of the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. The Prime Minister said that India stands with Britain in these times of change. The discussions also focused on strengthening bilateral ties going forward in trade and investment, defense and security, science and technology and education sectors.
Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Mr. Boris Johnson, specifically spoke about the need to develop the partnership between the two countries, and he understood that it is important for access to be given for talented Indians to the United Kingdom.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi and United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres also held wide-ranging talks on Sunday. PM Modi and the UN chief discussed India's participation in the Climate Action Summit in the United Nations and other issues of mutual interest. The meeting between Antonio Guterres and PM Modi took place in the backdrop of revocation of special status in Jammu and Kashmir under Article 370 and division of the state into two union territories.
Essentially, Prime Minister has laid out our basic position on the internal matter that Article 370 is under the Constitution, on the fact that on the international front, no step has been taken by India in any way or form to threaten regional peace and stability, on the fact that normalcy is returning to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. The UN Secretary General's primary aim of calling on PM was the climate change summit. That is his priority. Prime Minister has said we will stand by him on this.
Prime Minister Modi also held discussions with Senegal President Macky Sall on the sidelines of the G7 summit. Senegal is one of India's trusted African partners. The two leaders discussed bilateral ties, including development partnership and cooperation in counter-terrorism and international fora. With Arindra Pratap Singh in Biarritz, DD News.
And Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed two key sessions at the G7 summit. One was on biodiversity, oceans, climate, while the other was digital transformation. The Prime Minister showcased India's journey in both fields. President Macron announced a $20 million emergency fund for Amazon countries to tackle the forest blaze there.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi participating in the G7 summit for the first time. He addressed the session on biodiversities, oceans and climate. Prime Minister highlighted India's large-scale efforts towards eliminating single-use plastic, conserving water, harnessing solar energy and protecting flora and fauna for a sustainable future.
Prime Minister himself spoke of the initiative on single-use plastic. We are launching a national campaign against plastic waste in the oceans and against single-use plastic.
G7 leaders discussed a deal on technical and financial help for the Amazon. French President Emmanuel Macron announced $20 million emergency fund to help Amazon countries affected by rainforest fires.
The Amazon captures 14% of the carbon dioxide in the world, and so the loss of the main lung of the planet is a global problem. No country can say that it doesn't affect them, even if every country has to be respected in its sovereignty. It is impossible to compensate for the role of the Amazon.
A record number of fires are ravaging the rainforest, many of them in Brazil, drawing international concern because of Amazon's importance to the global environment. US President Donald Trump missed the session as French President Emmanuel Macron launched the session on climate change. Macron presented G7 leaders and guests with a watch made out of polluting plastic retrieved from the ocean.
This watch is a product of full recycling, and so it is an illustration of what we want to do, because it is done with polluting plastic that was recuperated from the oceans for the bracelets that you have attached.
Leaders of the G7 member states and countries also met to tackle digital transformation. Prime Minister Modi led the dedicated session of G7 Biarritz Summit on digital transformation. He highlighted India's role in putting digital technology to use to fight social inequalities through empowerment and inclusion. Prime Minister Modi's address at the session comes a day after he launched the RuPay card in Abu Dhabi. French President Emmanuel Macron chaired the meeting with leaders of Britain, Canada, Germany, Italy and Japan, joined by EU, South Africa, Chile, Australia, India and the OECD. With Arindra Pratap Singh and Sudhir Yadav, Bureau Report, DD India.
And Home Minister Amit Shah has said that left-wing extremism has no place in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's vision of New India. While chairing a review meeting on left-wing extremism in New Delhi, Amit Shah asserted that India's fight against those who try to subvert democracy with violence would continue relentlessly.
Home Minister Amit Shah chaired a meeting of chief ministers of left-wing extremism affected states. The meeting reviewed the security situation in the affected states and discussed ways to increase the pace of development in these areas. Amit Shah said that left-wing extremism is a big challenge for the country since it does not believe in the democratic system and misleads innocent people in underdeveloped areas with the aim of grabbing power for their own benefit. The Home Minister said that there is no place for left-wing extremism in the new India that Prime Minister Narendra Modi envisages. The high-level interaction included senior officials of the Home Ministry, security agencies, chief secretaries and DGPs of left-wing extremism-affected states. The Home Minister presented statistics that showed the rapid decline in left-wing extremism. In the year 2009, there were 2,258 incidents of left-wing extremism, but in 2018, they had come down to 833. He noted that last year only 60 districts reported incidents of left-wing extremism. Home Minister Amit Shah asserted that left-wing extremism can be rooted out with proper coordination between the centre and the states. The Home Minister announced the national policy of 2015 will continue to deal with left-wing extremism. It ensures development work and rights of local communities along with safety measures as priorities. Emphasis will be on improving road and telecom infrastructure, financial inclusion, skill development and education. Schools under Eklavya model will be built at a faster pace. Banking facilities will be available within a radius of 5 kilometers. Ministers and secretaries of important central ministries were also called in to expand the discussions. State representatives and the central government both came up with valuable suggestions. The Union Home Minister assured the state governments that the central government would cooperate fully in eliminating the left-wing extremism. He said that the time has come for security forces to build a comprehensive strategy to deal with Maoists and to end incidents of terror completely. With Sudhakar Das, DD India.
And the situation in Jammu and Kashmir continues to be peaceful, with people continuing their normal routines. The administration is keeping supply chains replenished. Most phone lines are operational. People continue to repose their trust in the administration as development work picks up pace.
Normalcy is gradually returning to the valley after abrogation of Article 370. Routine life can be witnessed in Jammu and Kashmir. Movement of private vehicles in the city has improved and restrictions have also been lifted from most areas. But security forces are still deployed to avoid any untoward incidents. Most of the telephone connections are operational and there is peace and calm in the valley. Governor Satyapal Malik has said that situation is under control and the focus now has shifted to developmental work.
हमने 370 हटाया है और इसके बाद आप 2-3-4 दिन में देखेंगे कि हम कश्मीरी अवाम के लिए इतना काम करेंगे, ऐसे हालात कर देंगे कि आने वाले दिनों में जो परला कश्मीर है वहाँ के लोग ये कहने लगेंगे कि देखिए वो है जगह रहने की। हम कश्मीरी जनता की, उनकी अस्मिता की, उनकी पहचान की, उनकी कल्चर की, उनके जॉब्स की, उनकी जमीन की, सबकी रक्षा करेंगे। हम उनका कोई नुकसान नहीं होने देंगे।
Even Srinagar is peaceful. DD News team visited far-flung areas of the valley to evaluate the situation and they found normalcy in most of the areas. Meanwhile, Jammu and Kashmir administration has rejected any shortage of medicines or essential commodities in the state.
There are no problems. and जनरल पब्लिक से ये अपील करता हूँ कि वो ये रहे इत्मीनान में रहे कि हमारे पास इंस्टीट्यूट के पास सफिशिएंट स्टॉक्स और सप्लाईज हैं और हम अपने रिसोर्सेज को एडिकेटली यूज कर रहे हैं।
DD News team visited the hospitals to know the reality and they found that there was no shortage at all.
हमारी तरफ से जो केयर है, जो भी हमारी रिक्वायरमेंट्स है, ड्रग्स की, मेडिसिन्स की, कंज्यूमेबल्स की, तो वो अभी हमारा ठीक चल रहा है। किसी जगह कोई कमी महसूस नहीं हुई। तो इवन मैं ये कहूँगा कि नेक्स्ट 10-15 दिन के लिए भी हमारे पास स्टॉक सफिशिएंट है। तो और हमारी जो लोकल डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स हैं वो भी काफ़ी मदद कर रहे हैं कि अगर हमें मान लीजिए कोई अप्रूव्ड डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर है वो अवेलेबल नहीं है बिकॉज ऑफ लैक ऑफ कम्युनिकेशन, तो जो हमारे डिस्ट्रिक्ट के अंदर लोकल डिस्ट्रीब्यूटर्स होते हैं तो हम उनके साथ राब्ता बनाए हुए हैं, तो वो हमें मदद करते हैं अपनी सप्लाईज को देने में। तो हमें कभी सप्लाईज की कमी अभी महसूस नहीं हुई।
In Baramulla too, hospitals are well equipped with sufficient supply of medical necessities.
हमें कोई ऐसी प्रॉब्लम नहीं हुई। हमारा फ्लो जो है यहाँ बदस्तूर बराबर रहा और हमारा जो हॉस्पिटल ऑपरेशंस हैं नॉर्मल तरीके से चले।
Even people are happy with the administration and the facilities being provided to them. With inputs from Anuj Yadav and Ajay Vikram Singh from Srinagar, DD News.
In a major setback for Congress leader and former Finance Minister P. Chidambaram, the Supreme Court on Monday rejected his petition against the Delhi High Court verdict, which had dismissed his anticipatory bail plea in a corruption case lodged by the CBI in the INX media scam. The apex court said Chidambaram's plea in the CBI case has become infructuous since he has been already arrested by the agency. The top court said he is at liberty to seek remedy in accordance with the law in the corruption case.
Another day, another setback for former Prime Minister P. Chidambaram. First, it was Supreme Court jolt for him and then by Rouse Avenue Court. First, the Supreme Court on Monday dismissed the petition filed by Congress leader for the anticipatory bail in the corruption case lodged by CBI. A bench comprising of Justices R. Bhanumati and A. S. Bopanna observed that since Chidambaram has already been arrested and is in the custody of the CBI, his appeal in the case has become infructuous. However, he can seek remedy in accordance with the law. The Apex Court even extended interim protection earlier granted to P. Chidambaram from arrest in the Enforcement Directorate case till Tuesday. Now he will remain in CBI custody for interrogation till 30th of August. And then came a jolt from Rouse Avenue Court in Delhi. The court granted CBI 4 more days custodial interrogation of the politician. The matter pertains to permission granted to INX Media for foreign investments. CBI had appealed for a 5-day custody for Chidambaram's interrogation on the grounds that it has collected significant evidence from Enforcement Directorate against the former Congress leader. After arguments from both the sides, the court extended his custody by 4 days. All eyes are now on the court. The Enforcement Directorate is also trying hard to win over Chidambaram's custody for further interrogation, but will it get custody anytime soon remains to be seen. With inputs from Anil Punya and Vikas Sarthi, TD News.
In a first, Karnataka will have 3 deputy chief ministers as Chief Minister B.S. Yedurappa on Monday allocated portfolios to 17 newly appointed ministers who were inducted into the cabinet nearly a week ago. Among the 3 deputy chief ministers are Govind Karjol, who has also been given the charge of PWD and social welfare, Ashwath Narayan, portfolio of higher education, IT and BT, science and technology, and Lakshman Savari with transport department. Basavaraj Bommai gets the home portfolio. The Reserve Bank of India on Monday approved the transfer of a record 1.76 lakh crore rupees dividend and surplus reserves to the government. The excess reserve transfer is in line with the recommendations of former RBI Governor Bimal Jalan-led panel constituted to decide size of capital reserves that the central bank should hold. The government was represented by Finance Secretary Rajiv Kumar in the panel, which finalized its report on August 14th by consensus. The Finance Ministry on Monday said the last date for filing annual GST returns has been extended by 3 months to November 30th, as taxpayers were facing technical problems in furnishing returns. Earlier, GST taxpayers were to file required returns by August 31st. Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, in a statement, said that it is hereby informed that the last date for furnishing of annual return in the form GSTR 9/form GSTR 9A and reconciliation statement in the form GSTR 9C for the financial year 2017 to 18 is extended from August 31st, 2019 to November 30th, 2019. Navy Chief Admiral Karambir Singh, Indian Navy, has received intelligence inputs of Jaish-e-Mohammed terrorists being trained for an underwater attack. He, however, said that Indian Navy is fully prepared to thwart any such attempt.
मिला है कि जो जैश-ए-मोहम्मद का जो अंडर वाटर विंग है, एक वो जो ट्रेन कर रहे हैं इनको, तो ये एक चेंज है, पर हम अब निगरानी रख रहे हैं और आपको दिलासा दिलाना चाहता हूं कि पूरे सतर्क रहेंगे हम और कोई भी इनका जो इरादा होगा उसको नासफल करेंगे.
And in line with Prime Minister Narendra Modi's call from the ramparts of the Red Fort on Independence Day, the government has come down hard once again against those indulging in corruption and harassment of taxpayers. This time around, the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs, that is the CBIC, has compulsorily retired 22 senior officers up to the rank of superintendent or administrative officers. Decision to compulsorily retire officers taken under Fundamental Rule 56J, a CBIC statement said this extreme step has been taken in public interest due to corruption and other charges and CBI traps. In June this year, 27 high-ranking IRS officers, including 12 CBDT officials, were compulsorily retired on similar grounds and for similar reasons. An Indian shuttler PV Sindhu created history after clinching gold at the World Badminton Championships. With this, Sindhu has become the first Indian to win a gold at the tournament. Soon after the ace shuttler won the title, she was showered with good wishes from people across the country. President Ramnath Kovind said PV Sindhu's victory is a proud moment for India and praised her hard work and perseverance. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also congratulated the new World Badminton champion on her historic win.
Congratulatory messages started pouring in for PV Sindhu, who became the first ever Indian to claim gold in BWF World Badminton Championship. President Ramnath Kovind said and praised her hard work and perseverance. Congratulations PV Sindhu for winning the BWF World Championship. This is a proud moment for the entire country. Your magic on the court, hard work and perseverance enthralls and inspires millions. Best wishes, world champion, for all your future battles. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also congratulated PV Sindhu for her performance against Japan's Nozomi Okuhara. Prime Minister Modi tweeted, "The stupendously talented PV Sindhu makes India proud again. Congratulations to her for winning the gold at the BWF World Championships. The passion and dedication with which she has pursued badminton is inspiring. PV Sindhu's success will inspire generations of players." Home Minister Amit Shah also congratulated PV Sindhu for her achievement. He said, "Kudos to PV Sindhu for clinching India's first ever gold medal at BWF World Championships after defeating her Japanese counterpart Nozomi Okuhara. You have made the entire nation proud with your incredible achievement." Sports Minister Kiran Rijiju also congratulated Sindhu for winning gold in BWF World Badminton Championships.
टोक्यो 2020 10 महीने सिर्फ बाकी है और इससे पहले विश्व का खिताब जीतना ये सिर्फ बैडमिंटन के लिए नहीं, पूरे भारत का खेल जगत के लिए बहुत बड़ी उपलब्धि है। मैं मानता हूं कि आज का पीवी सिंधु का विश्व बैडमिंटन का चैंपियनशिप खिताब जीतना इतिहास तो रचा है, साथ साथ आने वाले नई पीढ़ियों के लिए भी ये बहुत बड़ी एक मॉरल बोस्टिंग वाला काम करेंगे।
Sindhu maintained the record of not losing to a Chinese shuttler at the World Championships. In the final, Okuhara faced the rage of India's most successful shuttler. Now, Tokyo Olympics will be her next target, and her rivals will be wary after watching how badly Sindhu wanted the gold in Brazil. She will head into the Olympics as the reigning world champion. Sports Desk, TT News.
And with that, we wind up this edition of the news.